about this phrase, after the election, or this election. And they said, when they told you to move on, get over it. I was wondering what we're supposed to move on to from democracy, or what happens when you get over democracy. I was sitting in London watching your election. And I'm watching, and you can see black people on television saying, I showed them the polls that I was told I can't vote because I knocked off a 7-Eleven in 1964 in Utah. I don't know what they're talking about. And I hear this over and over again. People say, one thing you were getting on camera for a while, for a couple of days, is, I tried to vote, I couldn't vote, this happened, that happened. I'm thinking, I'm watching this, and I'm thinking, it almost seems like there's some kind of computer program which is singling out black people and preventing them from voting. Now, what I have here is the program. There you go. It's from the computer systems of the Florida Secretary of State, the Honorable Catherine Harris. It's a list of 57,700 registered voters in the state of Florida. And it has the names of these voters, their birth dates, their gender, the date that they were supposedly convicted of crimes. They were convicted of crimes. And then something else that's very, very important, race. Now, I'm just literally picking out at random. I could pick any page. Black, black, white. Black, black, white. Black, 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 Hispanic. Black, black. Do you see a pattern? Let me tell you something what that list is. That list is called the scrub list to commit what became, in effect, an ethnic cleansing of the Florida voter rolls in the year leading up to the election. The idea was to knock off, remove from the voter rolls people who had committed felonies in Florida and were not therefore allowed to vote. Now you may think that that's a fair system or not. It only exists in the old Confederacy states that people who served their time can't vote. Fair or not, that is the law, okay? There's one problem with the list. And I did just take a screen snatch of this just to pick out one, but I started looking through it and I noticed names such as Thomas Cooper. Now, there are a few Thomas Coopers in the United States, a few of them black, but there's something very interesting about Thomas Cooper. He was convicted, it says, in the year 2007. Now, in case you thought he was innocent, I just want to tell you something. Under race, he is black. And, but there were several thousand dates of conviction which were blank, which is very interesting, blank dates of conviction. So how many of these people were innocent of crimes anyway? Well, one county went through it. It looks like, statistically speaking, the experts have gone through it, at least 90.2% of the people on this list are legal voters. Innocent, 90.2%, 57,700. 54% of them black. You do the arithmetic. 357 votes decided the presidency of the United States. Now, did they know that this was happening? Well, they mixed people like Johnny Jackson of Texas with John Fitzgerald Jackson of Florida. Now, there's a couple John Jacksons who are black in the United States. So someone convicted 35 years ago in the state of Ohio is matched against several John Jacksons in Florida who are black, and they are removed from the voter rolls. And some of the supervisors asked, well, there's something wrong with this list. It's like 54% black, and there's only 13% of the electorate is black. I mean, they're a little bit nervous about violating U.S. civil rights laws. And Catherine Harris said, in her office said, well, you know, black people, you know what they do, mother rapers, father stabbers, so of course half the list will be black. The list was created by a company called Database Technologies, owned by Choice Point Company of Atlanta now. An interesting company, good pedigree, nice Republican country club outfit. Ken Langoni's on the board. He funded the race against Hillary Clinton for Senate in New York. You know, Republicans could do this, right? You know, why not? Now, they paid them $4 million to generate this list. $4 million? That's not bad. Well, it was interesting, they weren't the first company hired. The first company hired bid to do the work, $5,000. So wait, so they fired a firm to which they paid $5,000 to do the work because they weren't doing it correctly. We needed professionals. And on a no-bid contract, they hired a Republican firm for $4 million to get it 90.2% wrong. Now, I want to be very cautious. When I brought this information, confronted DBT over and over again, they kept saying, the list is accurate. This is accurate. This is accurate. And finally, they said, it was accurate to the specifications. And what I wanted to know, were they paid $4 million to get it right, or $4 million to make sure they got it wrong? DBT works for the FBI on manhunts. They know how to get their man. What went wrong? DBT charged all this money because they have a database of 8 billion pieces of information on you. They know who you are, and they know that you, Thomas Cooper, are not Thomas Cooper of Ohio. So they said, pay us $4 million, we'll run the databases, we'll get the address histories, social security numbers, the financial histories, the driver's license records, and in the corner, and after they paid the money to this company, I have copies of the checks, in the corner of the file next to all these checks, to get it right, there's a handwritten note in Harris's office that says, don't need. Pay for it, don't need. There's one other way to check on it. One of the most expensive parts of the process, which is necessary, is to statistically test the list. The first list of people removed were people from Texas. They got a list from Texas. Now, who's the governor of Texas? I can't remember. Anyway, 8,000 people. 8,000 people were knocked off the rolls to start with, and out of the 8,000 people, the number who were guilty of felonies was exactly 0. Look, we offered this to ABC for free to Ted Koppel. He said, well, he'll send down his people to do their own investigation. Why were there so many black votes that were not counted? And they went down and they found out all that these black ballots, these ballots in black areas were spoiled. They said, they got all these professors say, oh, the ballots are complex and these are brand new voters that just signed up and they're not all that well educated. They had trouble figuring out the ballots. In other words, black people is too freaking dumb to vote. That was the Ted Koppel investigation. And I then went down with my BBC camera crew and started looking myself. And I found out that indeed, yeah, black ballots were really spoiled. If you go to Gadsden County, that's the blackest county in Florida, 52% of the people in Gadsden are African American, in other words, potential felons. Their votes, they had most, forget the Chads and the butterfly ballots, that's all hypnosis. Forget all that. That's the hand. You're watching the magician's hand. I'm going to tell you what's in his pocket. Go to Gadsden. Forget Palm Beach and the bikinis. Go to Gadsden. It's 52% black. You got a lot of reports from Gadsden, right? The black counties in your media. 52% black, and 1 in 8 ballots were voided. 1 in 8 were not counted. Not counted. Some of those ballots, for example, had the name Al Gore circled instead of checked. What was the intent of that voter? Then there's Citrus County, which is the whitest county in Florida. 98% non-felony material. And only 1 in 200 ballots were spoiled and not counted. So obviously, these are smart voters. And so I asked the county election supervisor, I said, so is it really people just better filling out ballots? No. Look at the button. See, there's a button. The paper ballot machines could be set that if you made a mistake, as they did in Gadsden when the mistake was made, the ballot was accepted into the machine, voided, your vote didn't count, you didn't know it. In the white counties, if you stuck the ballot into the machine and you circled George Bush, but your ballot wasn't voided, it snapped back, just like those dollar bill machines, when you put in a bad bill, it comes back into your hands. And you can get a new ballot, they explain what you did wrong, and you vote again. CBS TV called me. Now they're a competitor. I don't have a deal with them, but I'm an American. I want to get the story out. They said, please give us something. This is really, really cool. Can you give us some of this material, please? We want to run this story like tomorrow night, please. I said, okay. Jeb Bush who sent out an order to all county election supervisors saying, if someone ever committed a crime in another state and they had the right to vote, they come to Florida, don't let them register, don't let them vote. There's a problem with that called the United States Constitution, which says that you can't fly to Florida and lose your civil rights. Now, something interesting about people who've been convicted of crime is gone to jail. It turns them into Democrats. 93% of all ex-cons vote Democrat. It doesn't matter what their race are. The Democratic Party does not discuss this. But the thing is that so if you knock off ex-offenders, but who have the legal right to vote, so this is kind of complex. So follow it. They did commit a crime, but they had the right to vote. But if you knock them off, 93% are guilty of something, voting Democratic. But CBS News grabbed this story. I don't want to say that your networks aren't on top of it. And they didn't run it the next night. They didn't run it the night after. So I figured, what the heck? I'll call them and say, what happened to the story? Because I want to know, I'll run it myself. They said, doesn't stand up. I hear this all the time. Doesn't stand up. Well, please tell me, because I don't want to spend my time on it. How do you know it doesn't stand up? The story isn't correct. He said, well, we called Jeb Bush's office, and he said he didn't do it. I didn't think that. Here I've been spending weeks and months investigating, and all I have to do is just call the guy. So I called the guy. I called his office, and I asked for something specific, the letter. This is in late February. I called his office. I said, I would like a copy of this letter saying that people with rights to vote lose them when they come into Florida. I wanted the actual physical hard copy of the document of September 18th. It was 6 weeks before the election, September 18th, 2000. So his office says, we don't have a letter dated September 18th. And I gave him, who it was from, to the details. I read them part of the letter. I said, I just want another copy of it. He said, it doesn't exist. He said, you mean the letter of February 23rd, 2002. I said, no, the letter before the election, not a letter after the election. He said, there's only one letter, and it's dated February 23rd. The difference is, they look almost identical, but there's a little difference. The one before the election said, if you have the right to vote, don't register these people anyway. And the one after the election said, if people have the right to vote, please help them register.